On this episode of Rico's Garage, two words that will excite any red-blooded American. Harley Davidson. Isn't she beautiful? Just look at her. Okay, it's starting to get warm out, and for many of us that means it's time to get the toys out, and a lot of us like the two-wheeled toys. My go-to for some wind therapy is this beautiful 2006 Harley Davidson Ultra Classic. There's a big long Harley Davidson model number, an FX, XTZ, QRP, I don't know. Essentially, it's an Ultra Classic Firefighter Edition. It's an Ultra Classic with some gold badges on it and fancy red paint. But I enjoy this bike. I looked around for a long time, happened upon one, and wife and I bought it immediately as soon as we saw it. And I've had it ever since. Going on, I can't even remember, 10, 12, it doesn't matter. The purpose of today's video, we're going to service this thing and get it ready to go. Now, for a lot of people, when it comes time to do the oil change, they just simply cart it down to the dealer or whatnot, pay the money and get it done. And that's fine. I've done it myself. Logistics, poor timing, you want to ride, that's just the way it goes. However, right now, things are expensive out there, guys. You all know this. You don't need me harping on it. We don't need to get into the politics of it. You need to save money where you can. And I'm going to show you today how to do a 3-hole oil change on this bike. Like I said, this particular model is a 2006. If memory serves me right, the touring models from 2000 to 2017 are pretty much the same. Now, I'm not going to show you step by step, fully detailed how to do a full service on this bike. You really need to get a service manual to do that. But I am going to show you, when it comes to doing the 3-hole oil change, how you can save yourself a little bit of money. With the materials I bought, I think I was right at like $100. Yeah, normally it costs two something to have the oil change done, but if you save yourself $100, you save yourself $100. That $100 is much better used in this fuel tank than somebody else's pocket, just my opinion. So we're going to change the engine oil, the transmission oil, the primary oil, and I'm going to show you what to use, give you a rundown, where the fill plug, drain plug is, show you what I use, which is a better product than what you're going to get if you go to the Harley dealer, but we'll get into that later. Okay, we're going to start with draining the transmission and the engine oil. We'll start with the transmission, 5/8 socket. You go basically center line of the transmission. Underneath there's a cross member. Right next to that cross member you'll see a 5/8 hex plug. We're going to remove that, drain the transmission. Looks pretty clean. Okay, we got that drained. Tighten this up real quick. After you drain the transmission, move just forward of where the transmission drain plug was, and then go towards the left side of the bike. You'll see another 5/8 hex. Take it out to drain your engine oil. While those are draining, let's go ahead and take off the fill plugs. Engine oil plug just simply pulls out. It has your dipstick on there. Lay that on a clean rag. For the transmission, we need a 3/8 hex. And we'll thread that plug out. Also has a dipstick on it as well. While we're waiting on those to drain, let me take this time to go ahead and talk to you about what we're going to be putting back in there. Now, a lot of guys will run 2050 synthetic in all three holes and do so without a problem. I'm going to show you what I do from talking to some other motorcycle guys and why it works the way that it does. For one thing, don't run down to Harley and pay premium dollar for their, eagle piss or whatever the hell they call it. It's not necessary. Get you a good 2050 oil. What I've had the best luck with is this VR1 racing oil. I run this in my YJ. It's a high zinc oil. The oils you get nowadays do not have zinc, which is hard on your flat tappet camshafts. The zinc was a lubricant. I don't know why they took it out. Some genius decided it wasn't needed. Whatever. I run this VR1 2050. 3.5 to 4 quarts on the engine. Start at 3.5, then run it and check it. The primary takes right at a quart. So if you get a 5-quart jug, you'll get exactly what you need. Now, like I said, a lot of guys will run 2050 synthetic in all three holes. They do so without issues. People do it all the time. What I've found, I've ran it both ways in this bike, is to actually run a synthetic gear oil in the transmission. These 5-speed transmissions are notoriously noisy in the first place. They tend to have a 4th gear whine. That's just the way it is. They also shift a little on the rough side. They don't shift like a Jap bike. That's just a Harley. That's just the way they are. However, by running the synthetic gear oil in there, they quiets them down quite a bit. They seem to run a little bit cooler, and they shift way smoother. So, takes like 28 ounces, give or take, for the transmission. So if you get you a quart of synthetic gear oil, I run 75/90. I've heard some guys run 75/140. Heard some guys run straight 90 weight. Again, some other guys run 20/50. It's your bike. Your mileage may vary. Blah, blah, blah. I'm running synthetic gear oil this go around. Had 20/50 and everything last time. Didn't really care for it. Let's get the engine oil in, the transmission oil in, and then we'll move to the other side of the bike to do the primary and the oil filter. And we've got a few things to talk about when it comes to that oil filter too, so you're going to want to stay tuned. Alright, here we go. Putting the plugs back in. Yes, this would be nicer with a motorcycle lift, but I don't have one. And I'm guessing a lot of you don't have one either. So we'll click. So we'll make do with what we got. Now I know a lot of guys are going to watch this video. They're going to be like, you're going to go through all that to save $100? Well, $100 is $100. And I guess if you're one of those guys that, you know, it ain't worth my time for $100, well, you're probably not watching a YouTube video on how to do this anyway. For the rest of America, We'd rather save that $100, put some of it in the fuel tank, ride this thing somewhere we've never been before, and have a good steak dinner with our wife. Sounds like a much better use of $100 if you ask me. Perfect. Now that we tightened our plug and cleaned up our mess, 3.5 quarts of VR1 going in. Whoa, making a mess. Improper funnel placement. Trying it again. Okay, we'll let that settle for a minute. Okay, now we've moved over to the left side of the machine where we're going to service the primary and we're going to change the oil filter. The oil filter is going to make a hell of a mess. It's inevitable. There's no way around it. So I'm procrastinating to do that. Let's get this primary drained. To do that, there's a drain plug right dead center down the bottom. If you look at your bolts on your primary cover, they're Allen heads. You'll notice one bolt is a different size from the others. That's your drain plug. So we're going to pull that. And then to access and fill the primary, we need to remove this cover, which is Torx head bolts. And I need to go to the toolbox to get some Torx heads. But I'll do that while it's draining. I will note, I did have to remove the passenger's footrest from this side to gain access to this primary. You may or may not. I just figured I'd mention it. Let me get this drained and then I'll go get those Torx sockets that I forgot to get out of the toolbox. Get it! Yeah! All engine noise, no speed. Must have been a Ford. Okay, draining, bolt stuck. That is a 3/16 Allen, I forgot to mention. Those of you keeping score at home. T27 is the magic number. Let's get this primary cover off while that's draining. That. Hold that off. Managed to save the gasket. Set that on that chunk of wood. And we'll let that drain. Let's talk about filling the primary while that's draining. Now when it comes time to fill your primary, it's kind of a pain. They do make a special funnel that sits right here in the bottom, kind of half moon shaped. Unfortunately, I do not have one of those. But I do have one of these small engine funnels that's available anywhere. And you can, with a little finesse, stick it right in there. And then pour your fluid in. It's slow, but it works. So that's what we're going to do after it's done draining. Again, we're going to put a quart of the VR1 in there. And everybody will be happy. Well, not everybody. I'm sure somebody's going to complain about it, but I don't care. It's time for a rock star. Okay, let's get that plug back in the primary. Only mildly cross-threaded, should be fine. Click. Okay. 1 quart of oil in the primary. Like I said, it's going to be slow, but we'll get it done. It's a little slow going, but we'll get there. It's Sunday. The wife's working overtime. I've got no friends, so I've got nothing else to do. Gasket's still going to go another round. Looking at this gasket, 25416-99C, in case you need one. Generally, they come off pretty good. Okay, now that all the bolts are started and the cover is installed correctly with the beautiful Harley Davidson firefighter badge facing the way it's supposed to and not. Now we'll run these bolts down just a hair past snug. I'm going to take a minute and dump this oil pan that's getting very full and make a hell of a mess changing the oil filter. But I want you to stick around because I got some important stuff to talk about regarding that oil filter. You're going to want to hear this. I'll be right back, but for you it's just going to be a cut and we're on to the next thing. How many times can I spill this on the way to the barrel? All of them. Okay. Before we make a total mess of the shop, it's not that bad, I'm kind of exaggerating a little bit, but it is messy changing that filter and I'm really putting it off. I want to talk to you about oil filters. First of all, there is no need to run a Harley Davidson filter. In fact, aside from being expensive, the Harley Davidson filter is really not that good of a filter. If you were to cut apart a Harley filter, you would be very disappointed. The previous generation Harley filter was a good filter. Had nice, good media, solid plates. Actually had a metal bypass valve inside of it. And what the bypass valve is if the filter should get clogged, it will open up, and while granted it lets unfiltered oil back into the engine, it doesn't restrict the flow, or at the worst, cause the oil filter to rupture because it can't get anywhere. Well, that valve was metal. The newer Harley filters have a plastic bypass valve in them. Hot oil, plastic, not good. If that valve fails, you're putting unfiltered oil back in your engine. Not good. So, my recommendation, I'm going to run a RICO'S filter, part number 57148. I'm going to run the black one just because this engine isn't all chromed out. It has a chrome one on there because the last place I had changed the oil. Like I told you, I have paid people to do this. So your schedule, that's just the way it is. Anyway, they do offer this in chrome. If you care about that, It's not really important to me. The black one will do just fine, save a few bucks. You can also get this same filter in a Napa Gold if you just drop the 5 off. Be a 7148. Napa also offers it in chrome, again, if that's important to you. I have heard that the Fram Power Sports filters are pretty good. I myself, on the automotive side, do not like Fram filters, and for very good reasons, but we can't get into that. So, go to your O'Reilly's or anywhere that sells wicks. It's a premium filter. It's a little bit cheaper than the Harley filter, but it's a better filter. So, cheaper and better, how can you go wrong? And like I said, it is available in chrome for those of you that care about that sort of thing. Get out our pressure washer in the can, aka brake clean. Smear some clean oil on there. Okay, that's tight. Now generally when I do my equipment or other vehicles, I'll write the date and the mileage on the filter. Not going to do that on this. It just looks tacky. I change it every spring and I don't really put as many miles on this as I'd like to, so it'll be fine. Okay, I'm going to wrap it up there. All that's left now is just to fire it up, double check all the levels. I'm going to clean the air filter, check the tire pressure, and just give everything a good once over, which you guys really don't want to see a video on that anyway. But hopefully that gives you, a good idea. And if your bike needs serviced and you're like me and you're pinching pennies and looking to save anywhere you can, well, for a couple hours of your time, maybe even less, when you're not trying to worry about setting up your video camera or anything like that, honestly, you could probably knock this out in an hour if you were just focused on it and doing it. But, go to the parts store, go grab the stuff I told you to grab, pull it in your shop or your buddy's garage or whatever, change your oil, get to know your bike, look it over real well, and you just saved yourself $100, $200 depending on what your dealership charges. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and let me know what you think. Did you like the different change of pace? Actually working on a motorcycle for once. I'll be honest with you, I don't know a whole lot about that motorcycle, and if anything goes wrong with it, we got a real good guy up the road. I trust him with it. That to me is that's how I relax. Get out on the bike and run down the road and don't worry about it. I don't want to think about well, this is bad or this needs worked on, or nope. Let somebody else worry about that. Anyway, that's totally off topic. I'm going to finish that thing up, take her out and give her a whore bath, and then pull the old 3+3 in here. And we haven't done a video on it in a while, and it needs some work, and I'm going to show that to you. So I thank you for everything, and we'll catch you on the next one. Later. What I really need to do is wash this thing. Probably won't, but I need to. I need to do a lot of things I don't do. Just ask my wife.